Ambassador Sarah Chun stood at the center of the massive chamber, her small human form dwarfed by the towering seats that rose up around her like a metal mountain. The Galactic Council of Civilizations had built this place to make visitors feel small, and it worked. Above her, 847 different species looked down with eyes, sensors, and things she could not even name. The chamber stretched for kilometers in every direction. Some council members floated in tanks of glowing liquid. Others sat on platforms of pure energy. The Vorthic representatives towered 3 meters tall, their gray skin looking like polished stone. The Zephyrians moved like liquid metal, shifting and flowing in their seats. The Altarians looked almost human, except for the extra arms and the way their eyes glowed blue. Sarah had been preparing for this moment for 5 years. Earth's greatest minds had worked together to create the perfect presentation. They had practiced every word, planned for every question. Today, humanity would ask to join the galactic community as full members. Honorable Council, Sarah began, her voice carried by translation devices to every corner of the vast space. I come before you representing the people of Earth. We seek full membership in this great alliance of worlds. The response was immediate. Laughter echoed from dozens of different species. Some sounds were like human chuckling. Others were clicks, hisses, and musical tones that the translation system turned into mockery. The Vorthic Prime Minister stood up, his massive form casting a shadow over Sarah. Ambassador Chun, he said, his voice like grinding stone, we have reviewed your species' achievements. Your rockets still burn chemical fuel like ancient campfires. Your computers use electricity flowing through metal wires. You have not even mastered your own star's energy. More laughter filled the chamber. Sarah felt her face grow hot, but she kept her expression calm. Prime Minister Gorvik, while our technology may seem simple, we have achieved remarkable things. We have explored our entire solar system. We have eliminated many diseases. We have created global communication networks. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium's representative flowed forward, their metallic body rippling like water. Sweet child, they said, their voice like singing crystal. You speak of achievements that our ancestors accomplished 1,000,000 years ago. Your entire economy is barely worth the cost of one of our cargo ships. Your trade goods are simple metals and organic compounds that any civilized world can make in laboratories. Sarah pulled up holographic displays showing Earth's achievements. Images of great cities, space stations, and research facilities floated in the air around her. We may be young, but we are capable of great things. We learn quickly. We adapt to any environment. We never give up. The Altarian Science Collective's leader raised 2 of his 4 arms. Your determination is noted, he said, his glowing eyes dim with boredom. However, determination without wisdom is dangerous. Your species still fights wars among themselves. You pollute your own world. You cannot even agree on simple things like government or economics. That is exactly why we need guidance from older, wiser civilizations, Sarah replied. We want to learn. We want to grow. We want to contribute to galactic peace and prosperity. The council members spoke among themselves in dozens of languages. Sarah's translation device caught fragments. Too primitive. Not ready. Dangerous if armed. Maybe in a few thousand years. Prime Minister Gorvak called for order with a sound like thunder. Ambassador Chun, the Council has reached a decision. Earth will be granted observer status in the galactic community. Sarah felt a small spark of hope. Thank you, Prime Minister. We are honored to... You misunderstand, Gorvik continued. Observer status means you may watch and listen, but you have no voice in our decisions. You may trade only in designated areas under strict supervision. Your ships may not travel beyond the Sol system without permission and escort. The Zephyrian representative added, These restrictions are necessary for the safety of all civilized worlds. We call them the Terran Containment Protocols. Your species shows potential, but you need time to mature. Sarah felt the carefully prepared words die in her throat. Containment? You want to lock us in our own solar system? Think of it as protection, the Altarian leader said, with what might have been kindness. Protection for you and protection for us. Young species can be unpredictable. History teaches us caution. How long would these restrictions last? Sarah asked. The council members looked at each other. Prime Minister Gorvak spoke for all of them. Perhaps 1,000 years. Maybe more. When your species learns to live in peace, when you develop proper technology, when you show wisdom instead of just ambition, then we will consider full membership. Sarah looked around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces. Some showed pity. Others showed amusement. Most showed nothing at all. And who decides when we are ready? We do, Gorvik said simply. The mature civilizations of the galaxy must guide the young ones. It is our responsibility. I see, Sarah said quietly. She gathered her holographic displays and prepared to leave. Then I thanked the council for its consideration. As she walked toward the exit, she heard the Altarian leader speaking to his neighbors. Humans might be ready for consideration again in perhaps 1,000 years, assuming they do not extinct themselves first. Their emotional responses suggest they are still far too unstable for real responsibility. The Zephyrian representative's musical laughter followed her. Did you see how she reacted? So much passion, so little wisdom. Typical of primitive species. Sarah reached the chamber's exit and turned back once. The council was already moving on to other business. Her presentation, Earth's hopes, humanity's dreams, all of it forgotten in the space of a few heartbeats. But as she walked down the long corridor toward her ship, Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The council had made their decision based on what they thought they knew about humanity. They had seen the old rockets, the simple computers, the basic technology that Earth had chosen to show them. They had not seen the quantum, communication arrays hidden in asteroid fields. They had not detected the matter manipulation facilities built in the dark between stars. They had no idea about the human agents already living among their populations, learning their languages, studying their weaknesses. Earth had not sent their best technology to the council. Earth had sent their oldest, most primitive devices. The council thought they were seeing humanity at its peak. They were actually seeing humanity as it had been 50 years ago. Sarah reached her ship and sent a coded message back to Earth. Observer status granted. Containment protocols in effect. Beginning Phase 2. The real test was about to begin. Dr. Marcus Webb stood in the center of the command room, watching data streams flow across dozens of screens. The facility was built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, drifting in the empty space between Mars and Jupiter. No alien sensors had ever detected it. The Galactic Council thought humans were too primitive to hide anything from them. The coded message from Ambassador Chun appeared on his personal screen. Observer status granted. Containment protocols in effect. Beginning Phase 2. Marcus smiled grimly and turned to address the 100 people working at stations around him. Ladies and gentlemen, the Council has made their decision. Activate the Prometheus network. Across the room, fingers flew over keyboards. Quantum communication arrays that had been sleeping for years suddenly came alive. From Earth to the outer planets, from hidden bases on distant moons to ships drifting in the void, humanity's secret network began to wake up. The truth was that Earth had been preparing for this moment for decades. When humans first detected alien signals 40 years ago, the world's governments had made a secret agreement. They would work together to learn everything possible about the galactic community before revealing themselves. The first alien ship had arrived at Earth 20 years ago. The crew thought they were making first contact with a primitive species. They had no idea that human listening posts had been tracking their communications for months. While the aliens studied human culture, humans were recording every word they said to each other. The aliens had been friendly but dismissive. They gave humans basic star charts and simple technology, the kind of gifts that advanced species always gave to newcomers. They never suspected that human scientists were taking apart every gift, learning not just how it worked, but how to make it better. More aliens came over the years. Traders, explorers, scientists. All of them saw what they expected to see: a young species struggling with basic space travel. None of them noticed the human agents who had learned to pass for other species. Dr. Angela Foster had been one of the first volunteers. The biological modification process had been painful and dangerous, but it worked. Her appearance changed to match a minor Vortex subspecies. Her voice box was altered to produce the right sounds. Even her blood chemistry was modified to full medical scanners. For 5 years, Angela had worked as a trade representative on the Vorthic capital world. The aliens trusted her completely. Why would they suspect deception from humans who barely had faster-than-light communication? They shared their secrets freely, complaining about politics, trade disputes, and military problems. Angela was one of 300 human agents scattered across the galaxy. Some worked in alien governments. Others ran businesses in alien markets. A few had even joined alien military forces. All of them sent regular reports through the quantum network. The information they gathered was staggering. Human analysts knew the location of every alien military base, the details of every trade agreement, the personal secrets of every important alien leader. They knew which species were allies and which ones barely tolerated each other. They knew about the hidden conflicts that the Council tried to keep secret. Captain Lisa Jang commanded a human ship that officially didn't exist. The vessel looked like a standard cargo hauler from the outside, but inside it carried the most advanced technology humanity had ever built. Her crew spent years mapping the space between star systems, finding routes that no alien had ever explored. They discovered something important. The aliens had become lazy. They had been the dominant species for so long that they no longer expected threats. Their sensor networks had huge blind spots. Their communication channels used encryption that human computers could break in hours. Their military forces followed predictable patterns that any human strategist could exploit. The humans built their own network in those blind spots. Hidden relay stations drifted in empty space, connecting human facilities across hundreds of light years. Matter fabrication plants created everything humans needed without requiring trade with aliens. Automated shipyards built vessels that no alien had ever seen. Most importantly, humans had learned to think like each alien species. Dr. Sarah Kim led a team of psychologists, anthropologists, and sociologists who studied alien cultures. They identified the fears, desires, and weaknesses of every major species. The Vorthic, for example, were proud warriors who valued honor above everything else. But they also kept slaves in hidden camps, something that would destroy their reputation if other species learned about it. The Zephyrians appeared to be peaceful traders, but their entire economy was built on manipulating currency, exchanges, and creating artificial shortages. Every species had secrets they desperately wanted to hide. Every government had corruption it tried to cover up. Every military had plans they didn't want their enemies to discover. Human agents had found all of it. The aliens thought they were so much smarter than humans. They made jokes about human intelligence, while human agents sat in their meeting rooms, recording every word. They discussed their secret plans in languages they thought humans could never learn. Not knowing that human computers had cracked their codes years ago, Dr. Webb walked over to a massive holographic display showing the galaxy. Red dots marked alien worlds. Blue dots showed human positions. Green lines connected hidden communication routes. Yellow symbols indicated important alien facilities that human agents had infiltrated. The display looked like a spider web with Earth at the center. Every strand led to information. Every connection gave humans another advantage. The Galactic Council thought they had contained humanity in the Sol system. They had no idea that human influence already reached every corner of their civilization. "Status report," Marcus called out. "All agents are in position," replied Dr. Chen. "No relation to the ambassador. We have confirmed access to 90% of alien government networks. Economic disruption protocols are loaded and ready," added Captain Morrison, head of the Financial Warfare Division. "We can crash their markets within hours. Military analysis is complete," reported Colonel Hayes. "We've identified critical weaknesses in all major alien fleets." Marcus nodded and looked at the countdown timer on his screen. The Galactic Council thought they had time to decide humanity's fate slowly and carefully. They believed humans would accept their judgment and wait patiently for 1,000 years. They were wrong. In 72 hours, every alien government would learn what humans were really capable of. The species that barely understood basic chemistry would demonstrate that they understood alien politics better than the aliens themselves. "Begin final preparations," Marcus ordered. "Send the activation codes to all teams. In 3 days, the galaxy is going to discover that containing humanity was the worst mistake they ever made." The screens around him filled with acknowledgement messages from agents across the galaxy. The network that had taken decades to build was about to prove its worth. The aliens had judged humanity by their oldest technology, while humans learned to master the aliens' newest secrets. The countdown began. Time to show the Galactic Council what humans could really do. At exactly midnight Galactic Standard Time, the attack began. But it was not the kind of attack that any alien species expected. On the Vorthok homeworld, Prime Minister Gorvak was sleeping in his private chambers when every communication screen in his palace began broadcasting. The images showed Vorthok labor camps hidden on distant moons. Thousands of slave workers from conquered species toiled in mines and factories that officially did not exist. The broadcasts included financial records, guard schedules, and transport manifests. Everything was perfectly documented with timestamps and location data. Within minutes, the same images appeared on every screen across the Vorthok Empire. Public information networks, military communications, even private messages between families suddenly carried the evidence of their government's darkest secret. The proud warrior race that spoke of honor and justice was revealed as slavers and oppressors. Gorvak stumbled from his bed and tried to contact his advisors, but the communication networks were chaos. Every call was interrupted by more evidence, more proof of crimes his people thought were safely hidden. His own voice appeared in the broadcasts, giving orders to expand the slave operations and eliminate witnesses. On the Zephyrian trade worlds, similar scenes played out. The crystalline beings, who claimed to be peaceful merchants, watched in horror as their market manipulation schemes were exposed. Hidden recordings showed Zephyrian traders artificially creating famines on developing worlds, then selling food at enormous profits. Stock exchanges collapsed as automated trading systems were revealed to be rigged in favor of Zephyrian corporations. Zephyrian Trade Consortium leader Velis tried to shut down the broadcasts, but they seemed to come from everywhere at once. The communication networks that connected their trading empire had been completely compromised. Worse, the financial systems were failing as alien. Governments realized they had been cheated for. Centuries. The Altarian Science Collective discovered that they're illegal. Biological experiments were being broadcast across their academic networks. For generations, they had tested dangerous modifications on unwilling subjects from primitive worlds. They had created biological weapons that could target specific species. They had even developed plans to modify human genetics to make them more compliant. Dr. Zenth, head of the Altarian Research Council, watched his career collapse as his own laboratory records appeared on every scientific journal feed in the galaxy. The experiments he thought were protected by the highest security clearances were being discussed on public forums by students and professors. But the humans did not stop at simply revealing secrets. They had spent decades learning how each alien society worked, and they used that knowledge like a weapon. The Colvin Republic and the Nexus Alliance had been at peace for 200 years. But humans released communications that showed both governments planning to attack each other. The messages were fake, but they were perfect forgeries that included personal communication codes and government seals. Within hours, both sides were mobilizing their fleets. The Theta Collective, a group of machine intelligences, received evidence that the organic species were planning to shut them down permanently. The evidence was manufactured, but it included detailed technical specifications that only someone with deep knowledge of AI systems could have created. The machines immediately began defensive. Preparations that looked like preparation for war. Trade routes that had operated smoothly for centuries suddenly failed as computer systems reported false emergencies. Navigation computers displayed warnings about asteroid fields that did not exist and pirate fleets that were actually deep space weather monitoring stations. Cargo ships found themselves stranded as their route planning systems guided them to empty space. The humans had identified every weak, pointing galactic civilization and attacked them all at once. They had learned that the hegemony species were terrified of a particular type of quantum radiation that reminded them of an ancient plague. Human systems began broadcasting false warnings about radiation leaks near all hegemony colonies. The Spiral Confederation's economy depended on complex currency exchanges between 12 different worlds. Human financial experts had spent years learning the system, and now they triggered a cascade of false trades that made their currency worthless within hours. Dr. Marcus Webb watched the chaos unfold from his hidden command center. Reports flowed in from human agents across the galaxy. Every alien government was dealing with multiple crises at the same time. Their attention was scattered as they tried to manage political scandals, economic collapse, and the threat of war. Phase 1 complete, reported Dr. Chun. All alien networks have been compromised. Psychological warfare protocols are active. Phase 2 initiating, added Captain Morrison. Financial systems are responding as predicted. The Zephyrian trade network is collapsing. 3 major currencies have lost 60% of their value. Marcus nodded and activated the next stage. Across the galaxy, human agents began the second part of their mission. They had spent years building relationships with alien citizens, learning their languages, understanding their cultures. Now they used those relationships to spread carefully crafted messages on worlds where the population was already angry about government corruption. Human agents shared the leaked information through social networks. On military bases where soldiers were unhappy about poor conditions, humans provided evidence that their commanders were stealing from military budgets. The humans had learned something important about galactic civilization. It was held together by trust and routine. The alien species had become comfortable with their systems. They expected their governments to be stable, their trades to be profitable, their communication networks to be secure. When all of those expectations collapsed at once, panic spread faster than any weapon could travel. Alien leaders who should have been coordinating their response were instead trying to save their own careers. Military forces that should have been investigating the attacks were dealing with riots and political upheaval. Within 6 hours, 12 alien governments had declared emergency sessions. Within 12 hours, 3 governments had fallen completely. Within 18 hours, The galactic economy had lost 40% of its value. The aliens still did not understand what was happening to them. They thought they were experiencing random system failures and coincidental political problems. Some suspected sabotage, but they were looking for military attacks or computer viruses. None of them imagined that the primitive humans could orchestrate something so complex. The Galactic Council tried to hold an emergency session, but half the members could not attend because they were dealing with crises at home. The other half spent their time accusing each other of starting the problems. As the first Galactic Day of Chaos ended, Ambassador Sarah Chan sent a message to the Council from her ship in Earth orbit. The message was brief and appeared on every communication system in the Council chamber. Honorable Council members, the message began. You may have noticed some technical difficulties in your systems. Please do not worry. These problems will end when you are ready to discuss new terms for humanity's membership in the galactic community. Until then, we hope you enjoy experiencing the kind of chaos that you thought only primitive species could create. The message ended with star charts showing human ships emerging from hidden positions throughout the galaxy. Ships that were not supposed to exist, using technology that humans were not supposed to have, carrying weapons that no alien had ever seen before. For the first time in 1,000 years, the Galactic Council realized they had made a serious mistake. The Emergency Council session was unlike anything in galactic history. The Great Chamber that had once shown the unity of 847 species now displayed their complete chaos. Empty seats marked governments that had fallen. Flickering holograms showed representatives who could barely maintain communication. Some council members had not slept in days. Prime Minister Gorvak looked terrible. His gray skin had turned pale, and his usually perfect military uniform was wrinkled and stained. The Vorthic Empire was in civil war as different military factions fought over who knew about the slave camps and who was responsible for covering them up. This is impossible, he said for the 100th time. Humans do not have the technology to penetrate our networks. They barely understand quantum mechanics. Zephyrian Trade Consortium leader Velis rippled with agitation, their metallic form shifting colors rapidly. Our economic models show that the humans somehow predicted every market response. They knew exactly which trades would cause cascade failures. This requires computational power beyond anything we have seen. The Altarian Science Collective's representative, Dr. Zent, raised 2 of his 4 arms. His usual confidence was gone, replaced by confusion and fear. The biological data they released about our research was perfect. Every detail, every test result, every classified report. Someone has been inside our most secure facilities for years. Around the chamber, similar reports came from dozens of species. The hegemony worlds were evacuating entire planets based on false radiation warnings that seemed completely real. The Spiral Confederation's government had collapsed when evidence surfaced that they have been planning to sell their own citizens as experimental subjects. Admiral Crash of the Nexus Alliance. Fleet pounded his tentacles on his control panel. My ships are scattered across 12 sectors, chasing threats that do not exist. Every time we respond to one emergency, 3 more appear. Our navigation systems are compromised. Our communication networks are unreliable, and my officers are beginning to question every order they receive. The worst part was that the problems kept growing. New evidence appeared daily, each leak perfectly timed to cause maximum damage. Financial markets that started to recover would crash again when fresh proof of corruption surfaced. Military alliances that tried to reunite would split apart when more secret betrayal plans were revealed. How many of our secrets do they have? Asked Council in Nexus of the Theta Collective, their mechanical voice crackling with static. Our analysis suggests they know everything about every major government operation for the past 50 years. A hologram flickered to life at the center of the chamber. Ambassador Sarah Chun appeared, but she was no longer alone. Behind her stood humans in military uniforms that no alien had ever seen. Their equipment was sleek and advanced, clearly far beyond what humanity was supposed to possess. "Counselors," Sarah began, her voice calm and confident. "I believe you requested this meeting to discuss the current galactic situation." Gorvik stood up, his massive form towering even through the hologram. "What have you done? How are you causing this chaos?" Sarah smiled. "Prime Minister, I think you misunderstand. We are not causing chaos. We are simply revealing the chaos that already existed. Your governments were built on lies and hidden crimes. We just decided to share the truth." "Impossible," hissed Velas. "Your species lacks the technology for such operations. You have no quantum computers, no biological modification capabilities, no advanced surveillance systems." "You are correct," Sarah replied. "The technology you saw during my presentation to the Council was indeed primitive. It was also 50 years old. We showed you museum pieces while our real capabilities remained hidden." The hologram expanded to show human facilities scattered across the galaxy. Massive space stations in the void between stars. Fleets of ships using propulsion systems that alien sensors could not detect. Research laboratories filled with technology that looked like magic. "For 40 years, we have been preparing," Sarah continued. "We knew that contact with alien civilizations would eventually lead to judgment of our species. We decided to make sure we would be ready for that judgment." Dr. Zent's glowing eyes dimmed with realization. "The biological modifications. The infiltration agents. You have been living among us for years. Decades," Sarah confirmed. "Your security systems were designed to detect alien technology, not to spot aliens pretending to be other aliens. A modified human can pass for a Vorthic, a Zephyrian, even an Altarian if the modifications are done correctly." Admiral Kresh's tentacles writhed with anger. "You have been spying on us while pretending to be primitives. This is a violation of every galactic law." "Which laws?" Sarah asked. "The ones that apply to member species? We are not members. You made sure of that yesterday. Or do you mean the laws that apply to observer status species? Because those laws say we are not allowed to leave our solar system without permission. Yet you never bothered to actually monitor whether we were following that restriction." The truth was becoming clear to the Council members. Humanity had played a much deeper game than any of them had imagined. While the aliens debated whether humans were advanced enough to join their civilization, humans have been quietly infiltrating and studying that civilization from within. "What do you want?" asked Counselor Nexus. "What are your demands?" Sarah's expression did not change. "We want what we originally asked for. Full membership in the Galactic Council. Equal voting rights. Free access to trade and technology. Removal of all containment protocols. And if we refuse?" Gorvik asked. The hologram expanded again to show new images. Human fleets emerging from hidden bases throughout the galaxy. Weapons that defied alien understanding of physics. Most terrifyingly, detailed plans for every alien military installation and government facility. "Then the current situation continues," Sarah said simply. "Your governments will keep collapsing as more secrets are revealed. Your economies will keep crashing as we expose more corruption. Your military alliances will keep fracturing as you discover more betrayals. You are threatening the entire galactic civilization," Velas accused. "No," Sarah replied. "We are offering to save it. Your civilization was already diseased with corruption and built on lies. We are simply showing you how sick it had become. You can keep trying to patch the problems one at a time. Or you can accept our help in building something better." The chamber fell silent, except for the sounds of failing communication systems and panicked reports from homeworlds. The aliens were beginning to understand that they had two choices: adapt to a new reality where humans were equals, or watch their carefully constructed civilization continue to collapse. How long do we have to decide? Asked GORVAK. Sarah checked a device on her wrist. Our analysts estimate that current trends will lead to complete galactic economic collapse within 6 months. Political stability will last perhaps 3 months. Military cooperation has approximately 8 weeks before total breakdown. She paused and looked around the chamber at the faces of species who had ruled the galaxy for millennia. But we are reasonable. We will give you 1 week to consider our proposal. After that, we will assume you have chosen to let your civilization fall apart naturally. The hologram flickered and disappeared, leaving the council members alone with the wreckage of their arrogance. They had scorned Earth as primitive and weak. Now, they were learning that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology. It had been their patience. 3 months later, the Galactic Council chamber looked very different. The massive seats that had once towered over visitors were now arranged in a circle, with no position higher than any other. At the center of the circle sat a simple chair occupied by Ambassador Sarah Chun, now holding the title of First Speaker of the Reformed Galactic Council. The transformation had not been easy. In the week after humanity's ultimatum, chaos had continued to spread across the galaxy. The Corvan Republic and Nexus Alliance had actually fought 3 skirmishes before human mediators convinced them that their evidence of betrayal was fabricated. The Spiral Confederation had dissolved completely, requiring human administrators to maintain basic services on 12 worlds. Some species had tried to resist. The Hegemony military launched an attack on what they thought was a human base, only to discover it was actually an automated mining station. The real human ships appeared from locations the aliens had never even detected, surrounding the Hegemony fleet without firing a shot. Your targeting systems have been disabled, Human Admiral Lisa Zhang had announced over open channels. Your navigation computers are now under our control. Your communication networks are broadcasting entertainment programs from Earth. If you would like to return to your homeworlds, please signal your acceptance of the new Galactic Accords. It had taken 6 hours for the Hegemony commander to admit defeat. The same pattern played out across the galaxy. Every species that tried to fight discovered that humans had been preparing for decades, while aliens had grown comfortable and lazy. But humanity had not conquered the galaxy through force. They had conquered it through competence. As alien governments collapsed and economies failed, human experts appeared with solutions. They helped rebuild communication networks, stabilized failing currencies, and mediated political disputes. The same species that had been infiltrating alien societies for decades now worked openly to save those societies. Dr. Marcus Webb had become the galaxy's chief information security advisor, teaching alien governments how to protect their networks from the kind of attacks humans had used against them. Captain Morrison led a team that rebuilt the galactic economy on new foundations that were harder to manipulate. Colonel Hayes worked with alien military leaders to create defense alliances based on trust instead of fear. The aliens learned that humans were not interested in ruling over them like conquerors. Humans wanted partners, not subjects. But they also made it clear that the partnership would be between equals, not between mature civilizations and primitive children. The vote on Trade Resolution 2847 is 234 in favor, 156 against, with 23 abstentions, Sarah announced to the council. The motion passes. The Zephyrian Trade Consortium will restructure their currency exchange practices to comply with the new transparency requirements. Velis rippled unhappily in their seat, but they did not protest. The Zephyrians had discovered that fair trade practices could actually be more profitable than manipulation, once they learned how to do it properly. Human economists had taught them techniques that alien schools had never developed. Next item, Sarah continued. The petition from the Altarian Science Collective for expanded research permissions. Dr. Zenth stood up, his forearms moving in a gesture of respect that would have been unthinkable months ago. First speaker, we submit to Council review our proposed study of regenerative biology. All research will be conducted according to the new ethical standards, with full transparency and voluntary subjects only. The transformation of the Altarians had been remarkable. Once they stopped conducting illegal experiments, their legitimate research had advanced rapidly with human collaboration. It turned out that ethical science was actually better science when different species worked together openly. The review committee has examined your proposal, Sarah replied. Permission granted with the standard monitoring protocols. Dr. Kim will serve as the human liaison for this project. Sarah looked around the chamber at faces that had once looked down on humanity with contempt. Some species had adapted better than others to the new reality. The Vorthok military had embraced human tactical innovations and become a force for galactic peace instead of oppression. The Spiral Worlds had formed a new confederation based on human democratic principles. Others were still struggling. The Theta Collective continued to have difficulty trusting organic species, despite human efforts to build cooperation. The Nexus Alliance remained suspicious that humans were plotting some deeper conquest, but the galaxy was stable for the first time in living memory. The constant background of hidden conflicts and secret manipulations had been replaced by open debate and honest disagreement. Problems still existed, but they were discussed publicly instead of being hidden until they exploded into wars. Before we adjourn, Sarah said, I have an announcement. Long-range sensor arrays have detected unusual signals from the direction of the Andromeda Galaxy. The signals appear to be artificial in origin and suggest the presence of a previously unknown civilization. The chamber buzzed with excitement and concern. Contact with new species was always dangerous, especially when those species had technology advanced enough for intergalactic communication. Prime Minister Gorvik, who had become one of humanity's strongest allies, stood up. First speaker, the Vorthok military stands ready to assist with any contact protocols, as does the Zephyrian exploration fleet, added Velis. Sarah smiled. Thank you, but initial contact will be handled according to the new protocols. We will approach carefully, observe extensively, and prepare thoroughly before revealing ourselves. She paused and looked around the chamber. After all, we have learned what can happen when a civilization underestimates newcomers. We will not make the same mistake our predecessors did. Dr. Zenth raised two arms. Will humans lead the contact mission? Humans will coordinate the mission, Sarah replied. But it will include representatives from every council species. This is how we do things now together, as equals. As the council session ended, Sarah remained in her chair while the other representatives filed out. Some stopped to discuss technical details with human advisors. Others gathered in small groups to plan joint projects. The kind of cooperation that had once seemed impossible was becoming routine. Ambassador Chan activated her personal communication device and sent a message to Dr. Webb at his research facility. Marcus, prepare the deep space exploration teams. We have a new neighbor to meet. His reply came back immediately. Already working on it, Sarah. We've been monitoring those signals for 6 months. The new civilization appears to be significantly more advanced than anything in our galaxy. This could be interesting. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. The Galactic Council had once thought humanity was too primitive to be worth their attention. They had learned better. Now humanity would help the galaxy learn how to deal with species that might be even more advanced than the old council members had been. The galaxy was about to discover what humans had known all along. There was always someone bigger, stronger, and smarter. The secret to survival was not to dismiss newcomers as primitives or fear them as conquerors. The secret was to approach every contact with respect, preparation, and the understanding that peaceful cooperation was always better than conflict. As Sarah finally left the council chamber, she reflected on how much had changed since that day when she had stood alone at the center of the room, asking for humanity's place among the stars. Now humans did not just have a place in galactic civilization. They had become its guardians and guides. The greatest revenge against those who had scorned Earth was not conquest or punishment. It was proving that humans could build something better than what they had torn down. The galaxy was stronger now, more honest, more cooperative. It was the kind of civilization that humanity had always dreamed of joining. And if the signals from Andromeda brought new challenges, humanity would face them the same way they had faced the Galactic Council's arrogance, with patience, preparation, and the determination to turn every enemy into an ally. The stars belonged to everyone now. Humanity had made sure of that.